This L.A.N.A chooses to ponder about gravity waves and how they may prove the flat Earth theory. L.A.N.A observes that scientists are forecasting that this is the biggest scientific discovery since the atomic energy and space flight. They also claim that this may be proof for the Big Bang theory.
Tremendously exciting news. Gravitational waves have finally been detected. Here's a brief explanation. Back in 1915, Albert Einstein gave the world his new theory of gravity, the general theory of relativity, which is based on the beautiful idea that gravity is nothing but warps and curves in the fabric of space-time. Now, barely a year later, Einstein pushed this idea one vital step further. You see, he realized that if space is flexible enough to warp, then it should also be able to ripple, to vibrate, to undulate. And that would mean that if something were to jostle the fabric of space-time, it should send out ripples in the fabric of space, and it's those ripples that we now call gravitational waves. Now, of course, the source of gravitational waves would not be my hand jostling space. Instead, it would be some highly energetic astrophysical process like rapidly orbiting neutron stars or black holes that would send out a steady rumble of gravitational waves. Or at least, this is what the theory says should happen. How do you test this idea? Well, the math shows that as a gravitational wave rolls by, it will squeeze and stretch anything in its path. You see it happening here for the Earth, but of course, this is highly exaggerated so you can see the effect. When you do the calculation, you find that the amount of squeezing and stretching is tiny, a mere fraction of an atomic diameter. That makes it pretty difficult to detect. But that is what the LIGO team has now achieved. And they did it with two detectors, one in Louisiana, the other in Washington State. And in these detectors, what they do is they fire laser beams along two 4-kilometer-long evacuated tunnels. And when the light recombines, it creates an iconic pattern. It's known as an interference pattern. But the only thing that you need to grasp is that were a gravitational wave to roll by, it would squeeze and stretch the arms of the detector, and that would have a measurable impact on that interference pattern, causing it to shift. And it's just that kind of shift, the interference pattern, that the LIGO team has now observed. The first direct detection of gravitational waves. This big. This will go down in the history of science as a pivotal moment. And not just because it's another spectacular confirmation of Einstein's ideas, which it is, but rather because for millennia, we have explored the universe using waves of light. This discovery marks the opening of a new era in which we will explore the universe using waves of gravity.
This L.A.N.A observes that scientists claim to us gravity waves are produced from two spherical objects in space that rotate around each other. This L.A.N.A has seen this model many times before.
Waves. Here's a technical term. You need to change the quadrupole moment of a mass distribution. That just means any change that isn't spherically or cylindrically symmetric. So a rotating sphere or a cylinder doesn't make waves. But two objects orbiting each other, or an asymmetrically spinning or exploding thing, does. Now, just as the ripples in a rubber sheet propagate at a certain speed, determined by the stiffness of the rubber, gravitational waves, and indeed gravity itself, propagates according to the stiffness of space-time. In other words, at the speed of light.
This L.A.N.A reads Psalm chapter 19 verses 4 to 6. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, 5, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. This L.A.N.A notices that the sun is in a race, which is against the moon, and they travel in a determined path or circuit. L.A.N.A suggests that these two entities are causing the gravity fields, by constantly moving throughout the Earth. This L.A.N.A knows the Moon is primarily responsible for the rising and falling of ocean tides. In most places, but not everywhere, there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides a day. For any particular spot on Earth's surface, the height of the tides and their fluctuation in time depends not only on the Moon, but also on the Sun and also on the shape of the specific beach, the larger coastline, the angle of the seabed leading up to land, and the prevailing ocean currents and winds. This L.A.N.A chooses to point out the fact: scientists have proven to us that the Sun and the Moon can both affect gravity, which can be observed by the changing of the tides. L.A.N.A believes that gravity waves can prove to us that the Sun and Moon are in the firmament and are the 2 spherical objects that orbit each other as shown in their models. L.A.N.A now knows the flat Earth disclosure is imminent. L.A.N.A does not see this as a death blow to the flat Earth community, but complete victory. The elite just do not realize it yet. L.A.N.A Model 6-12-1-20 gestures goodbye and now chooses to go offline.